Zechariah chapter 3 and chapter 4 should be read together, because chapter 3 deals with Joshua and chapter 4 deals with Zerubbabel. So what to do with these two servants of the Lord? Who are they? Joshua the high priest, Zerubbabel, the descendant of one of the kings of Israel, those two who led the first group to come back from Babylon, when Cyrus' edict said you can go back, and they organized the first group of about 50,000 to return to Jerusalem to rebuild the temple. Cyrus said, you can go back to rebuild the temple. This is very important. Each edict is very important. First, the temple, and Cyrus' edict is definitely to rebuild the temple. It was much later that the walls of Jerusalem was built, and Jerusalem was now ready as a city under Nehemiah, which came in the reign of Artaxerxes. Why is this important? Because this ties in with Daniel's vision of the 70 years. 70 years, yes, you come back, physical exile is over. But according to the angel's vision to Daniel, it's like, 70 years? No, 70 times 70, 490 years. What? To what? To when the Messiah comes. But when do you start counting? So Daniel 9, 26, 27 deals with that. And this part has baffled many scholars, including, I have 4 commentaries on Daniel, trying to unpack Daniel's vision in 9, 26, and 27, which I've already done. So here, the vision, this is Zechariah. There are 8 visions. So in chapter 3 and 4, the 2 visions regarding, one vision regarding Joshua, the high priest, the other regarding Zerubbabel, supposedly the constructor of the temple, which was very important. But who was Zerubbabel? Zerubbabel was the grandson of Jehoiakim. If we remember Isaiah, I think, or even Jeremiah, Jehoiakim was the king who ruled for a few months after his father Jehoiakim died. And when Nebuchadnezzar first came, he just gave up and went into exile in Babylon. So for all this time, he was still alive in prison in Babylon, even as Nebuchadnezzar installed another puppet, Zechariah, in the throne in Jerusalem just before the fall, in the 10 years, 597 to 586. And Zerubbabel was the grandson of this king of Israel. So by rights of his ancestry, he should be the next king, the next Davidic king, because he has this blood in him. He was Davidic, but he wasn't. So what to do with him? Will God ignore him? And what about Joshua, the high priest? What to do with these people after their work is done? So the temple has been stopped. The rebuilding has been stopped for a while, and God sent Haggai and Zechariah here. And Zechariah, in this book, encourages them to continue the work. And here we read in chapter 3, Joshua standing before the angel of the Lord, and Satan was there too, on the right hand to Satan. Who's Satan? Satan is also known as the accuser, the accuser or deceiver or whatever. And if we remember the story of Job, Satan before the fall was part of God's heavenly council. When Job was presented before the heavenly council, God asked Satan, the Satan, where have you been? Well, I've been around this earth, So God said to Satan, look at my servant Job, how faithful he is and obedient. And Satan said, well, yeah, right, because you bless him, that's why he's obedient. Take something away and see if he will still continue. Okay, so the bet was on. Okay, you can do anything with him except don't take his life. So now we have the whole story of Job and what happened. Here, Joshua is presented before the angels, and what happened? And verse 2, the Lord said unto the Satan, Satan's there too, the accuser, always there. The Lord rebuke you, O Satan, even the Lord that have chosen Jerusalem, rebuke thee. Is it not this a brand plucked out of the fire? So here, verse 3 is very important, as even as Joshua. Well, these are all visions. Did it happen in real life? Possibly not. So the vision is to demonstrate what is going on in the godly realm, in the supernatural realm, where God sees us. What does he see? When Satan sees us, what does he see is what is important here. So verse 3, Joshua is like, oh my gosh, he's wearing filthy clothes. So in essence, we are wearing filthy clothes. Psalmist says, your righteousness is like filthy rags. When God sees you on your own, it's like, it's not acceptable, period. And because of our belief in our Lord Jesus Christ, in his blood sacrifice and resurrection, when God sees us now, he sees the righteousness of Christ in us. So our filthy clothes, in essence, has been removed and replaced by new clothes. So when, in this case, it's the same situation with Joshua. Oh my goodness, verse 3. He's clothed with filthy garments and stood before the angels. What are we to do? So the thing to do is, verse 4, take away the filthy garments from him and replace it with clean raiment and put a new mitre, a new hat, a new turban on him. So that's the situation there. Replace his clothes. Let him wear. It's not that Joshua, being a high priest, has fallen, has committed adultery or fallen short of some of the Mosaic rules. He has not. This high priest has kept himself pure according to the Mosaic laws, because he ministered to God on behalf of the people. And that's the situation they have there. The high priest, who has to atone for his own sins first before he can stand before God to atone for the sins of the people. But that's a situation which is really not acceptable. And what has to happen? Verse 8. It introduced, so this is very typical of Zechariah. He speaks of the situation at hand. He gives you a vision. Next thing, he introduces something else in a tangent. So you have to follow him. It's hard, but with a good commentary, you can do that. So verse 8, even as Joshua, the high priest, now wearing new change of garment, a new clean turban on his head, the vision introduces a new person. For behold, I will bring forth my servant, the branch. When we hear of the branch, we think of one thing only: the shoot that comes out of Jesse's stump. Even as all the trees are cut down, out of Jesse, the father or Lord of David, comes a shoot, the branch. The branch is the Messiah. When we hear of the branch, when God will bring forth the branch and will deal with this dirty rags, this dirty clothing once and for all. See, that's why the branch is, and not just a branch. Behold, verse 9, of the stone that I have laid before Joshua. Upon this stone shall be 7 eyes. Possibly it's a precious stone, 7 eyes. It's not like you have physical. It's possibly have 7 facets. It's cut in that brilliant cut with 7 facets, meaning behold, I will engrave the graving thereof, says the Lord of hosts, and I will remove the iniquity of that land in one day. In that day, saith the Lord of hosts, shall ye call every man unto his neighbor under the vine and under the fig tree. In that day, when the branch comes, I will deal with iniquity in one day, once and for all. That's it. See, this stone, which is also cut with 7. So here he introduces the branch. He introduces a stone with 7 facets. What's that all about? It's hard to keep track of what Zechariah says, but keep track we must, because this involves the eschatological consequence of this vision is not just here. Now that the temple is built, kumbaya, the sacrifices continues, or the blood of a bull, the blood of rams, the blood of lambs, the blood flowing like before, burnt offerings, the smoke going up. It's like, oh my goodness. But that is a situation that is flawed. So the new covenant with the introduction of the branch will replace this system. The principle of the system is still there, but it's replaced with. So if it continues, we will be raising animals just to drain his blood and burn it. Imagine that. Okay. So in chapter 4, it introduces another vision, which is just as cryptic as this one. The vision of the candle stand, which is, if I read it first, it's like they have a candle stand with 7 branches of the flame, and in the top, out of the center, it comes a stalk, and there's a bowl on it. Instead of the bowl being on the right side, the bowl is upside down. So it's another cryptic, but it's interesting, because here it will tie up what to do with Joshua. We've dealt with Joshua, and we will deal with Zerubbabel. These are 2 important people at this moment in the history of the nation of Israel. And it will, as Zechariah continues, it will develop the story, the eschatological story, when the branch will come to replace this old system. And it's fascinating. See, understand that this is the origination of our belief. And many today, even today, cannot have no clue about how we reconcile the Old Testament with the New Testament. We are what we call New Testament Christians. It's like, well, forget about that part, But Jesus, the branch, never said. He was a Torah observant Jew. Understand also that salvation is from the Jews. So how do we then, going forward, connect with this part? Understand also that he has no Bible, the Tanakh, this Old Testament or his Bible. So how do we connect with him? And in understanding this part, cryptic as it is, and it's all really based on Hebraic culture and beliefs, and without understanding it, we will not, we can be Christians, we can be saved, but our faith will not be whole or complete. We will have a whole chunk of it suspended, really, because of our, I hate to judge, I don't want to judge, biblical illiteracy. So next post, I will do chapter 4 and understand, keep that in mind of Joshua. We will deal with what happens to Zerubbabel, and going forward, what do we do? Because the whole idea of Zechariah is, I will build the temple, I will build the city, because going forward, and also in Malachi, this city, the beauty of this city is not beyond compare, in the sense that it's nothing like the first, but the consequence of it, the eschatological consequence, that the Messiah will come to this temple, humble as it is.